think it's really interesting, though. We just saw Ross Greenwood with Rita on the previous show there, Caro, but the markets, shares lose $73 billion in a savage sell-off. More than $73 billion was wiped off the value of Australian shares on Thursday as Russia's invasion of Ukraine sparked a savage sell-off on world stock markets, alongside a surge in commodities that saw the price of oil surge past US $100 for the first time since 2014. Jumping wheat, fuel and metal prices threatened to unleash a renewed surge in global inflationary pressures, but economists said central banks could be forced to delay their plans to normalise monetary policy so as to avoid exacerbating renewed concerns about global growth amid this lingering pandemic. Two pandemics side by side, COVID and now the uncertainty in the region of the old USSR. It's going to be a messy couple of days, if not messy couple of months, isn't it, Caro?
Yeah, it really is. And you're quite right. We saw almost 3% come off our market today. But what is also interesting is what's happening in the US market. So today, the US market, technically became a bear market. It is 20% or the NASDAQ is 20% off its highs from November, which, to coincide with the invasion today, that does knock the psyche around a little bit. And you're quite right. Every time there is some sort of conflict or uncertainty, people pile in to commodities, into oil, into gold. They have all risen today. People always go back to where it's safe, but you're right that there does put pressure on. The other thing is, we've seen various countries put on sanctions today. Russia is one of the largest fertiliser exporters in the world. So not only are you seeing commodity prices rise because of this sudden demand in commodities, but you're also going to see an increased cost in producer inputs going into putting in these crops, because you are going to start to see shortages around the place when you see these sanctions start to bite. Look, I'm not sure whether particularly the Fed can avoid a rate rise. I know they want to, but it really depends how much inflationary pressure we see and how quickly it comes into play, because it's bad enough that the US has got an international problem on its hands. It doesn't want to have a worsening domestic issue on its hands as well.
Yeah, for sure. And in terms of, I guess, how this impacts the ASX moving forward, and of course, China is standing there just in the shadows there, specifically as we here in the West also focus so closely on our own commodity prices, specifically with iron ore. Have you heard anything around the traps about how, this type of conflict in this region could have an impact on China's taking on board our, finite resources as well?
Well, I haven't heard anything particular yet, but I'm sure there'll be a bit shaking out in the next couple of days. The other thing that will be interesting to monitor is, the Indians are reasonably close with the Russians, and we have a good relationship with India, and obviously it's one of those trading relationships that we have tried to nurture to try and diversify away a bit from China. So it will be interesting to see whether the position that Australia has taken on Russia, whether that impacts our relationship with India.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a really interesting time, if not slightly terrifying, when it comes to all things financial and humanitarian, that's for sure.